So I think silver is a speculative story right now that is extremely interesting. And gold is a safety story that now that all the central banks, or most of the central banks, are on your side, if you're a buyer of gold, you can probably rest easy that even if there are some fluctuations in the short run, like if we had that big, 2008, 2009 financial crisis where all the markets tank, that might pull gold down again, along with everything else. But gold would recover quickly and then go on to new highs when the Fed capitulates. So there's very little risk long term in gold right now. And in silver, there's still quite a bit of risk because silver is a speculative market, but its upside is outrageous. So I think in either case, the risk reward calculus is pretty favorable for precious metals right now. But I think we could easily, as we get closer to a financial crisis that forces the world's central banks to go back to easing, I think we're getting closer and closer to just a drying up of silver availability. Already premiums are pretty high. That's the kind of thing that implies really tight inventories. And if people start panic buying silver, inventories are going to get even tighter. Delivery times are going to stretch way out into the future. And the physical price will become the real price. In other words, what you actually have to pay to get real silver shipped to your house or whatever, that's the real price. And that's going to be considerably higher than whatever the paper price is at that time. So, there's no way to know the timing of any of this. There's no way to know the specifics of it. Who does what to break the COMEX or whatever. But we're creating the conditions where something like that becomes more and more conceivable as the trend continues. So I think unless some gigantic new supply of silver shows up on the market, or if individual investors just stop wanting to buy silver coins, unless either of those two things happen, this trend seems to have legs, and it's liable to end with a much higher silver price. They serve different functions, bars and coins. Bars are storing wealth. And when you want to cash out of a bar, you're going to maybe take it to the neighborhood coin dealer or something like that, and then get a very big check for it. But with coins, you can go to the farmer's market or whatever and buy, this week's veggies or something with silver in, the times like what we're talking about, where things get crazy enough that suddenly silver is something that the people jump at the chance of getting because they can't get it anywhere else. And, as for paying really high premiums to get the highest visibility coins, that's a trade-off. And I don't think it's a great trade-off with the most expensive coins. I think that's a sign of new money coming in and wanting the most familiar thing. But I think you can go down the food chain in the silver coin market and find some better deals. Like I have a friend who just bought a bunch of Austrian Philharmonics, which are pretty well-known coins. They would be recognizable to anybody who's paying attention to the silver market, but they were way less expensive than silver eagles at the time. And you can go further down from that. Like I know the Northwest Territorial Mint is not around anymore, but I have a bunch of silver rounds that were stamped by the Pan American Silver Mining Company. And so that's just pure silver, no government affiliation or anything, no national anything. But they were very cheap in terms of the amount of bullion you got for the amount of dollars you had to give up. And there are things like that out there now. So you can go further down the food chain and get more bullion for your dollar right now. Or you can go for, extreme exchangeability and familiarity and pay a lot more. And I don't think there's one right answer to that, but I think that I think that everybody has to kind of think of their own comfort level and risk tolerance and make their own decision. But yeah, you can definitely get silver for a lot less than $10 over spot right now. And that's a conversation that, for instance, Elijah, you could have with your customers and kind of work out what they're comfortable with and then show them what's available. And there will be things available, at least for a while. There will come a time when hardly anything is available, but right now you can still buy certain things at certain prices. And I think, people who don't have some silver should be looking at ways to get it and just trying to operate within the constraints of today's market. Yeah, you never want to bet the farm on any one thing. And, historically, precious metals have held their value, and I think they will going forward, but you really don't know what the fluctuations are going to be like on the way. I think we'll be at $50 silver in the not extremely distant future, but we could easily be at $12 silver on the way, and so you don't want to bet everything on it. But, the same thing that we should always have been doing is what we should be doing now with just a little bit more urgency. We should be prepping, we should be preparing for disruptions, whether it's in the financial market or whether it's the power grid or forest fires, which are now a thing that a lot of people out west have to be thinking about. We should be preparing for these things. And one of the ways you prepare, at least on the financial side of this, is to move as far away with your finances from these fiat currencies as possible. You definitely want some dollar cash, but you don't want your entire financial life to be depending on dollars. And you want to move into real assets like gold and silver and, well-chosen farmland and increasingly energy assets now, which are suddenly the hot stock category in the US. And, you want to be over there on the real asset side of the spectrum. Gold and silver are part of that equation and part of that process. They're not the only one, but they're one that I focus on. I like owning a lot of gold. I continue to stack and silver coins. And, I'll just keep on doing that until this whole thing breaks, and then, use them however they're best used at the time. But I think they're going to be extremely good insurance along the way. So everybody should have some, not 90% of your finances should be in precious metals, but 10%, maybe 20%, depending on how aggressive you want to be, is a big yes.